So hello again to this tutorial with the Baron of Conquest of Elysium 4. Yeah, we just had a turn where we were offered a High Lord. If you remember last time, we had somewhere down here a High Lord who conquered something and then had to retreat because this army is a bit too strong for him. We conquered here a town, and here our Baron is just killing some wildlife. We had this mage. We will see the first time spells cast on our side in combat. And there was two things I forgot last time. Maybe you wondered, if you remember, a few turns ago we had here a battle on the graveyard against dispossessed spirit, and my High Lord got weakened, and you might have wondered why doesn't he care that the High Lord got weakened and lost 2 strength. You have to know most buffs, so bonuses, and most debuffs, so some maluses, only last for the combat. The only exceptions are battle afflictions, which you already know, which you get from being dealt damage sometimes. And the other ones are disease, which reduces strength by 1 and slowly kills the unit over the course of several months. Curse, which is permanent and has the effect that getting further battle afflictions is far more likely. I think effective 5 or 10. So this is mostly a problem for strong units who now suddenly get injured very fast and suddenly quickly lose their eyes and chest wounds and so on. And the last one is horror marked, which means that there is a probability each turn for armies with horror marked units in it that they get attacked by some horrors which plop out of the void to attack the armies. But horror marked, there are rather few ways to get horror marked. The most likely effect you face is permanent effects you face are disease and curse, because they both exist as level 1 spells. Now, and another thing I would just check, because I realized I'm just thinking whether Swamp Move actually also gives Swamp Stealth. There is nothing written there, but I checked when watching the replay, so again, that each time my units were here around the swamp without stealth detection, that then the bog beasts could not be seen. But I will have to check next turn when currently we still see stealthy units here in this turn, because last turn we had here this army which has a scout with them on this place, and therefore we would still see stealthy units. But next turn, when they are here and the bog beasts cannot be seen, then likely I think it means they are stealthy in swamp. But okay, yeah, there was one thing we wanted to do: recruit units, and especially siege weapons. So before deciding which to recruit, we just don't recruit the most expensive one, we read. So we here see Trebuchet, 15 hit points, okay, magic resistance, strength and moral not good, rank back, which is okay, because as we see in combat it fires in siege combat, and then it only has a short sword attack, and then it's useless, so it's only useful in siege combat. Furthermore, we have here immobile. Why is it immobile? Cannot move in combat, so one has to look. It's immobile is the one thing, and there's an identical symbol for stationary, and these are two different things. Stationary means they cannot move on the world map, and immobile means they cannot move in combat. So this unit just can fire in siege combat, and otherwise it just stands around and cannot do much. And it's slow, so it moves only 2 per month on the world map. So any army having this unit in it would be slower moving on the world map. So now the important question: our boulders only usable once every 3 rounds, 1 to 25 damage, blunt damage, this is good. Scatter, this attack will often hit an adjacent spare, whatever it's called, instead of exactly where it was aimed. So, but this is not that bad because we have burst 3, so we will hit, if you remember, burst means that the number of squares the attack hits. So let's say if a burst 3 attack hits here, then this square is damaged and then 2 of the neighboring squares are also damaged. So this trebuchet has some chance to hit its target even if it hits the square next to it. And usable once every 3 rounds. It will mean as there are 15 pre-battle rounds or rounds of negative round value, you remember from combat, this would mean that 5 shots are fired. So this trebuchet fires 5 times in siege combat, I expect. And as it has burst 3, it can at most hit 15 enemies. And here's something also important, strikes anywhere. So here's siege only versus it strikes anywhere. This is important. If you remember, strike anywhere. For example, if our army here gets attacked, usually only the front rank is hit, but strike anywhere could mean that also the back rank is hit. And of course, this court mage would never survive 1 to 25 points of damage. So when you attack, when you are in siege combat and have such a weapon around, you have a certain risk that your commander gets killed, even although he's standing in the back. So this is sometimes a deterrent against attacking. Even although you win the battle, you think, oh, the risk for the siege engines or the trebuchets to hit my commanders and kill them is too great. And I have the impression that also the computer player has these considerations to some extent. So I think if you want to discourage him from attacking and can only recruit 1 unit, then such a trebuchet might be a good idea because, well, and the catapult, it's slightly cheaper, 25 gold less, only has 10 hit points, less magic resistance, same movement abilities, also back, also a short sword attack, and a boulder. It does more damage, 1 to 30. Also strikes anywhere, also siege, but doesn't have burst 3. And it's usable every 2 rounds. So for 15 rounds of siege combat, this means it will probably have 7 attacks. But it will at most kill 7 enemy units. And it has a more difficult time to directly hit the unit it aimed at. Yes, so considering that trebuchet can hit up to 15 units and this catapult can only hit up to 7 units, you could conclude that trebuchet is most of the time better, and you're of course correct. There is only trebuchet is a special baron unit. He's the only one to have trebuchets, while catapults, many classes have catapults. So this is probably the explanation why the trebuchet is a bit better, because it's something special for a baron. It should therefore be better, so the baron is more cool. But there's one use for the catapult. If you fight some large unit, for example, if you would have a battle with such an iron golem either on the walls or attacking your castle, then the catapult might actually be better, because you see, if this iron golem gets hit by the trebuchet in the middle, then these his 3 burst radius will all be inside the iron golem, and burst does not mean that it is several hits. So even if such a creature is inside 2 burst squares of an attack, it will still only receive attack damage once. So if this is the only attacking unit for whatever reason, then the trebuchet would only hit it at most 5 times and deal, well, 5 times 1 to 25 damage, while the catapult will hit 7 times for 1 to 30 damage. So against such large units, maybe the catapult can be better. But usually if you fight, I don't know, example, here, if you, for example, attack here, of course the trebuchet is better, because if it aims for this unit and then hits this, it can kill 3 with a shot. Yeah, this is a castle, by the way. It's defended well. Yeah, so if we would only select between these two units, I would normally select Trebuchet because it's most of the time better. Also, you have to see range 24, range 20. I'm not certain whether this range actually has an effect because I think strikes anywhere might override range limitations, but I don't know, and it's a bit hard to test because to check out whether this range actually affects one would need to have something like 15 rows of units before the siege engines and then attack, and that would I don't have the money to test it, you see. And but it's also important that this means that for certain very, very, very large armies, uh, catapults might be useless because they are placed outside their firing range to attack anything in siege combat, and during siege combat no movement happens, and therefore they will just stand around. So I don't know, you have to, if you have ever such large armies, you should test it and arrange accordingly. And yeah, this is of course also in favor of Trebuchet. Now there are ballistas. You see here two ballistas. So they are a lot cheaper, just costing 12.5 gold and 25 iron per piece. And yeah, let's check them. They have the same stats, at least here, 10 hit points, 5 metric resistance as catapults, and they have rank mid. This is to some extent a difference because I think we would have to check it, but placed on the walls are mid-rank units and only to a lesser extent back-rank units. So if you have ballistas and the enemy attacks your castle, then the ballistas placed on the walls. And of course they are very good to place on the wall because well, they deal a lot of damage with their attack. Now you see they have only here they have their siege attack, only range 16, only 1 to 20 damage, so they are weaker than the trebuchet, but you get two of them for practically the same price. This giant arrow also has scatter, also only burst 1, and is usable every 2 rounds. So such a ballista shoots 7 times in siege combat, I expect, and as we get 2, this is as good as 14 shots in siege combat. For 1 to 20 damage, if you remember, the trebuchet has 15 shots for 1 to 25 damage, so I think the ballista is still rather strong compared to the trebuchet, especially due to its lower price. And what tilts it in favor for me of the ballista is that it also has an attack for normal combat. It's only usable every 4 rounds, it has scatter, but it's 1 to 20 damage. And yeah, if you remember, our longbowmen do 1 to 4 damage, crossbows and tower guards do 1 to 5, so this has the firepower of, yeah, well, maybe 2 crossbowmen or so. They fire in 4 rounds, 4 shots with 1 to 5 damage, that is maybe as good as 1 shot with 1 to 20, and it has range 12. So for this to have any good effect, we have really to be careful, because an army with 10 ranks of units, that would be 200 units, that's possible in the game, and it happens, and in that case our ballista would have range problems. But our ballista is also not stationary in combat, not immobile in combat. So I think this overall means that ballista is better because it's also okay from siege damage, but it can provide in normal combat. It's only just slow. Therefore I think I will hire ballistas, especially if I want to kill these guys. I can bring my ballistas along. Of course they fire only every 4 rounds, but at least they deal damage. Okay, their attack damage is half, but even a half damage is okay to hit. By the way, this halving of damage happens after armor is subtracted. So therefore the ballista is very likely to injure a stone golem with shots, because it will deal 1 to 20 damage, then 2 to 3 is subtracted, and only then it's halved and rounded down. So an average ballista shot might do something like 4 or 5 damage to a stone golem. And yeah, that doesn't sound much, but if you think what an average longbow shot does to the stone golem, it doesn't do any damage. So yeah, I can use the ballista also for such combats. And therefore I will recruit ballistas. Yeah, I will buy iron, continue to buy iron, and yeah, recruit ballistas. Now let's... maybe you saw it. The sight range now increased because before I recruited the ballistas, I didn't have any unit here. Therefore, I did not profit from the Illuminati symbol down there, and only saw one square, and that means that this row of water I didn't see. So now we have here the two ballistas on the wall, and I also think catapults and trebuchets are 2x2 units. So ballistas are a bit smaller, which is to some extent an advantage and to some extent a disadvantage. So now we can watch some battles. Let's see. I don't know in which order it displays battles, but it doesn't matter anyway. So here nothing much will happen. We will just kill the boss, hopefully. Oh, come on. And now we see here this blinking, red blinking, mean that the berserking activated. And okay, it has a chest wound, so you don't see that its hit points actually got increased. And yeah, the chest wound makes -1 for strength. The berserk gives +1 for strength, so it still does 1 to 4 damage. But you see, at least see this increased moral bonus. Normally they only have moral 5, but okay, or moral 4. But now he will 6. He's fast healing. He will recover fast. Now gone. So here we have to see combustion. If you remember, 4 units get burned. It probably bypasses armor. It is not written here, but I think it bypasses armor. Okay, we can burn forest, that we try maybe sometime later. Or iron skin, where one of the units get +2 armor. And he has range 6, so he will be able to do it. But yeah, first the other attacks will happen because he has only initiative 1. Or is it a... No, it's a man, I think. Yeah. So now here the usual thing happens. They barely injure each other, although they use lance charges. Here's some damage done, so that's actually good because now you see... Oh, 4 damage again for him. Yeah, you see, now a spell was cast, Iron Skin. And if you look now at this spearman, he has armor 2 instead of armor 0. So, of course, for this combat it's absolutely useless because I don't think he will ever get attacked. But that's the problem with spells, they are as random as attacks. And yeah, you need to be lucky to... yeah, you see here, +1. He healed 1 hit point, so it's a bit unlucky. I think 20 hit points is the... No, you're I think it heals 5%. Yeah, 5%. So even with 20 hit points, I would only heal 1. But it's still okay. Heal 1 per turn. Especially that means that at the end of combat he will recover all lost hit points. Now, attacks with hoof. Iron skin, and now he has cast it on here on our knight, and that would make him quite strong with armor 5. He would be quite resistant. Now let's see what happens. Now, okay. Court mage cast iron skin, so he always... and you see now in battle aftermath, the unicorn knights regenerate. So you see, regeneration is really cool because your unit is practically immediately again full health and ready to fight. Therefore I really like to get this item. Now okay. Everything okay. Let's see him. Now I wanted to I forgot owning forests and such stuff does not give sight range around, so sorry, we cannot see whether there are bog beasts. I just wanted to comment on one thing. I think my court mage will conquer something over here and then move downwards to maybe get into fights with the archbishop, because I think blue is quite weak because normally the strongest army is with the original commander. And if his strongest army is just, what, 6 units, he lost one, I think he had 7. Or did he leave it somewhere? No. Then probably at least I can conquer a lot of things he has down here. Maybe I will not be able to attack his main base because it's fortified, and you know, fortified locations can be difficult, but it probably will work. There's the Manticore. Well, can't do anything about him. He's too strong. And he has still some soulless. This is the other type of standard undead. So they are, yeah, I call them zombies because they are similar. You see, they have lots of hit points, bad magic resistance, at least for compared to this long dead we saw last time. Decent strength and the usual undead abilities. And here they are true zombies. They are clumsy, miss half all of attacks. Considering that they deal only 1 to 2 damage, I mean really they can't deal damage just like zombies, but they can suffer some damage before being destroyed. So they are just meat shields, and by the way they are slow. This is relevant if you play Necromancer because long deads are not slow and soulless are slow, so you have a bit of a decision if you want to carry these meat shields along or not. As Necromancer, of course. Only we are good. We are just a baron trying to conquer the world. Yeah, what do we do? Hey, these wolves. Yeah, we kill these wolves. I want to keep my farms. They give spearmen. So now we know where the Manticore is. I think I will move here. The Manticore moves only 1 space, so I hope that there's no mountain here. No, I might have the problem. I will see. Yeah, there's nothing to do here except moving on. He will lose 2 action points next turn. Oh, another ancient forest. That's good. At least we can now. We have a scout with us, so at least we know that we see stealthy units. What we got here, normal goblins, but experienced goblins. Take care, they have 3 hit points instead of 2, and they have moral fall. But here these are, sorry, wolfkin, 6 hit points. That is as good as spearmen. They don't have a shield, they don't have armor, so they are not a bit less resistant than spearmen, but they have 2 attacks. So these are quite good damage dealer, 1 to 3 damage with their spear and 1 to 6 damage with the bite. So the main fighting is done by the wolf and the goblin is just dragged along. But I have to think. These are, wait, the numbers were shown, 9 wolfkin and 10 goblins. Yeah, we will succeed. Yeah, because our knights, they will kill a lot of enemy units. And of course I think the wolfkin, yeah, they are fast and they have forest stuff. So it's good we have the scout with us, because otherwise we wouldn't see any units in this ancient forest and we would be up to guessing how many they are. So recruit units. No, there's nothing to recruit. And turn. You see? Yeah, maybe you saw it. Someone conquered the graveyard again, but I don't care because now those units. I want to get up there. The Manticore is there. I have to see whether I can get my High Lord past him without any risk. But you saw that I think if you watched, he converted this farm, so it will provide now less gold for us if we conquer it, but that's bad luck. These wolves, I will retake the farm and then kill the wolves, which will cost me 4 movement points, so my Baron army will not be able to move next turn. Yeah, there's the gold mine. There doesn't happen much. We would receive a message if there's some special event about the gold mine. 4 movement points, 3 for the mountain, and 1 to escape the Manticore's reach. Yeah, that's how I hope to do it. And yeah. Now we wanted to conquer the ancient forest. Remember, we want to get more unicorn knights, and this would probably give another unicorn knight for conscription. So we conquer it, and we have Maybe next turn I will recruit something, but as I said, I want to keep enough money to recruit those special commanders like Alchemist, and there's a commander called Monk, and this one can turn swamps into farms. And as you know, farms give us 2 spearmen, so recruiting such a commander and then converting all these swamps would give us 8 spearmen per year. So it would be really great to get such a commander. Ah, these were the wolves in the mountain, yeah. Just confused who is fighting. Nothing happened here. Now, let's see. These are fast and close in fast. Yeah, now, what initiative? Oh, 2 and 6. So their spear attacks will come first, then our lance charge will happen, and then at the same time, so in random order, their bite attacks and our hoof attacks will happen, and our scout shooting his bow, and afterwards maybe our mage will do something interesting. As you see, their spear attack, it's just 1 to 3 damage, so they have to roll open-ended to actually deal some damage, so most of their attacks don't do anything. But our lance charge deals more attack. So you see now this was a nice lance charges. 8 points, 8 points, 12 points, and then the Alicon 11 points, 7 points. Here 5 points, but he's still alive. So now hoof attacks don't happen anymore because there's no enemy near. And now the wizard, you see, now he casts combustion. You see, he targets several units. Hey, he should have, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm thinking about, I currently do not know whether I have to watch whether diagonal steps count as range 1 or range 2. Maybe this is the reason he only hit those 2, because if diagonal movement, you know, there are many games that diagonal movement costs 1.4, is where a diagonal square is 1.5 distance, so this would be 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, so yeah, it could be that these guys are outside his range. But now you see they already take the damage. This burning damage happens at the end of turn. And yeah, you see there's no sign here. You just see where there's this fire. And this guy is still on fire. So you see he did at least dealt some damage. Great, they did not close anywhere in combat. Well, so now the spearmen have to fight. Fortunately, the spearmen attack first and they kill a lot of units, so oh, look at this. Wolfkin attacks with bites, spearman takes 10 damage, so we lost at least still a unit here. Court mage casts combustion. Goblin is affected. I thought he would strike 4 times, but he only hits always 2 goblins. Maybe it's again a range problem. And now, hopefully, here was the last. So at the end of combat when there are no enemies near, the mages, spellcasters don't cast offensive spells, which of course would be useless if all enemies are dead. What I talked about. 1 monk. Great that I saved the money. And the captain, which we don't need. Now, if you are a fan of micromanaging, I want to highlight that in principle, no, we don't have it. We could, if we had someone with permanent afflictions, give him our Hydra skin armor for a turn, because regeneration also, you see, battle afflictions are also healed. But I don't think I will do that micromanage, then that's just too much work. So no movement points left. Okay. Yeah, this one also has no movement points left. So now I will tell you what I do. I will, let me see, I will go here and simply don't move, so that the Baron will go up here to collect units in next conscription, and the High Lord will take up some of the Baron units and go with them down to attack here, because you see this guy only has 8 units with him or 7, so if I just bring 10 or 12 with me, then I have a good chance to overwhelm maybe his main commander, and that will cripple him.